Good day, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Vise Squad, brought to you by Togen's Fly Shop and Dr. Slick. This week, we're going to tie a more traditional pattern, older pattern, called the Green Ant. It's got a squirrel wing on it, saddle hackle up front, a few different things. In the vise, we're going to start with a 1/0 up-eye salmon hook. And we're going to use some 70 denier UTC in white. Wind that down to more or less the barb. Right about there. We are going to use some size 14 or medium oval tinsel. And I'm going to measure that out so it's on my side of the hook and all the way up to where the loop ends or starts, whichever way you look at it. And I'm going to keep that tied all the way down the side just so we can keep the profile of the body uniform, so you don't get any extra lumps and bumps in it. This will also help add some volume to the body without having to add a whole pile of thread to it. Just gonna trim that just a little. There we go. Now we'll just work our thread. You can see that like that. Work our thread back down, and we'll leave that about, I don't know, 3/16 of an inch up from the end of the thread. And I'm going to start wrapping this tag, and we'll do 5 turns. And we're going to capture that, and I want to capture that, and I want to leave that on the bottom side of the hook just so you don't see it later. I'm going to reach in there and I'm going to cut that off. Clean that up a little bit. Next, we're going to grab some golden pheasant tippet, which is laying here somewhere, right here. These orangey feathers, I'm sure everybody's seen them before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, let's say, that much of it. But what I'm going to do to keep the tips all straight is I'm going to hold them by the tips. And I'm going to cut them off along the stem. So that everything stays straight. So that they look like that. Next we'll take those and I'm going to tie them in just so that just the second bar is outside the tag, something like that. And then what we'll do is just do some nice even wraps, tie all that in nicely, and we'll go right back to where that started. And I'm going to grab a piece of ostrich. This is black ostrich Herl, and I'm going to tie that in by the tip of the feather. You want to be very gentle with this stuff. If you've never worked with ostrich before, it can be a little frustrating. It's more brittle than peacock even. So we're going to start wrapping that. I'm just going to make a little butt section here. You just want touching wraps and get those fibers to all stand and lay against each other. I think that's getting pretty close. So we'll just grab that in, just a turn or 2 or 3, and we'll snip that out. Next we're going to go back to that oval tinsel. I'm going to retie it in. If you wanted a thicker body, I guess this is worth mentioning, you could have left it tied in back here and tied it all the way forward and left it there, tied the rest of this stuff in, and then gone back and tied back, and then you could use it again, which is a good way of building bulk on the body if that's what you're after. For this one I prefer the slim profile, so I got rid of it instead. So we'll tie that in just above the first one and follow that all the way along. Like that. I'm going to put that in my material clip. Next I'm going to grab some floss. This is a medium green, kind of a fluorescent-y green color. What I've done is I've trimmed off a piece about 16 inches long or 18 inches long, and I've doubled it over. So I'm going to tie that in with the two loose ends to the back, and I'm going to tie it in along the side of the body. Put a couple wraps in and then just pull it through so that it'll be finishing up more or less where the tinsel has finished up at the front there. So we'll do some nice wraps, getting that floss to stay right up the side, trying to. Sometimes it cooperates, apparently it's not. Then what we'll do is we'll just take our thread and we'll just go back and forth over this, trying to even it out as best you can. Get rid of any lumps and valleys. We're pretty good there. Not bad. I'm going to finish my thread about a third of the way through that loop. And we'll take that floss and we'll just start wrapping it forward. Overlap it slightly so you don't get any missed spots. And what you want to try to achieve here is to have 5 wraps spaced evenly along the length of that body portion. I'll grab that and tie it off. And just clean that up a little bit. Next I'm going to take a squirrel tail. It's a brown squirrel, gray squirrel. And I'm going to grab a pinch of that off the side. Small pinch, don't need a big, don't want too big a clump on there. With any hair, it's got an under fur in it. I just want to clean that out a little bit. We're not going to bother stacking it. I'm just going to lay that on top there. I think I'll just part way down the tail. And what I'm going to do, like I do with caddis wing, I'm going to put one loop around that. Pull it down onto the hook. Get some wraps in there and just pull it tight. A little big there. stuff is pretty waxy and slippery, so some good securing wraps are not a bad thing. And what we'll do is reach in there nice and close. Snip all the butts of the hair out. And we'll just clean that up a little bit. Like so. At this point, I'm going to whip finish this white thread off. I'm going to switch over to a black UTC. In 70 denier as well. I'll get that thread started on there. I'm going to go right back to where the squirrel was. We're going to grab a saddle hackle feather. This is a black one, and I've gone ahead and I've stripped the barbels off the one side. That'll be the side when you're wrapping that you want to turn towards. So we'll tie that in just on the side here. Start wrapping that forward. And then we just do touching turns all the way through the length of the feather. Trying to make sure they're all pointing backwards. Reach in there with our thread. Tie that guy off. Perfect. Now reach in and grab the remainder of the stem. And I'll reach in and grab that tip of that feather, snip it out like that, and then I'm just gonna work my thread backwards, just going over the hackle just a little bit, and that'll help lay it down, kind of point it backwards. And we'll just go back up and build ourselves a nice little head here. So, all right, let's grab our whip finish tool. Throw a knot in the front of this. Then what we're going to do is take some Solarez Bone Dry and build a nice head on this. Make sure those thread wraps are good and secure. And while we're doing this, let's see. If you go back to my fly from last week, the last video that was posted, what was the body material that I used on that fly? That'll be the question for this week. So whoever can answer, or whoever answers first below the main video feed, will send some of these out to you. Alright, there we go. Pretty basic, pretty straightforward. nothing too terribly difficult about this little fly. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell if you're new to the channel. Please go check out our sponsors, Dr. Slick and Togen's Fly Shop. Check out Goes to 11 store. Rick, maybe you can throw up a link again for us. And check out what's all on there. There's a whole pile of stuff on there. Anyways, until next week, everyone, I hope you have a good one. Thanks.